All right, so we already had the inferencing lesson. Most of it we finished yesterday. We just didn't get to finish it all the way. So I'm just going to fly through this just to remind you of a couple of the most important points. Remember, we said that an inference is an evidence-based guess. It's all about drawing conclusions about what is unsaid based on what is said. And it requires you to be willing to really look at the evidence and try to come to a conclusion that hasn't been expressed in words. And we talked about how readers have to do some of the work. The writer actually doesn't supply everything you need. In other words, readers help to construct meaning. So, if you find that you are one who is too lazy to make inferences, or maybe you struggle with making inferences, then you're likely misunderstanding or missing a lot of stuff that the author intended you to see. Remember, the information is there. Being confused when you watch a movie or a TV show or read a text usually isn't a problem with the text. It might be due to your inferencing capabilities because you really have to work at thinking about it. So all of this was stuff we kind of went over yesterday, obviously. Okay, a quick example from a text you are familiar with. In one of my classes yesterday, we went over this, and the other one we didn't. So I do apologize if you're watching this video and we went over this. But consider the following excerpt from The Veldt. This dialogue is spoken by Lydia, directed towards George. And she says, "You look as if you didn't know what to do with yourself in this house either. You smoke a little more every morning and drink a little more every afternoon and need a little more sedative or sleeping medicine every night." Wow. So just in that little bit of dialogue from Lydia, we have actually learned a lot about George. And so we can infer some things about George. Some of the answers that people gave yesterday, we can infer that George might be really stressed or really depressed. And our evidence for that inference is that he's smoking and drinking. He can't even sleep at night. And that sometimes is a sign that someone is stressed or depressed. And since we read the story, we know that that was true. Okay, so we are going to practice as a class. We're going to read a text, or in this case, view the text. We're going to rewatch and reread when necessary, because this is a video text. I'd like us to draw conclusions, or in other words, make inferences. Lastly, cite evidence to support your conclusions, meaning if you say, "Oh, I'm inferring that the girl is sad," well, my follow-up question to you is going to be, how do you know she's sad? What is your evidence? So, in my 8th period class, we got to watch almost all of this video, but not the second half. In my 7th period class, we didn't watch any of it. So, my 8th period class, I am going to ask, or we're starting at the beginning, which you're going to know some of the answers already, but that actually is not a bad thing to view it a second time. This video is actually a video made in Thailand, so they're speaking Thai. So you really have to read those English subtitles. And I am going to pause throughout to ask you to make inferences. Now, if I were there and this wasn't a video that you were watching of me, we would pause and I would ask a question and then I would let you raise your hand and answer out loud. Obviously, you're watching this alone right now on your computer with headphones, so you're not going to really answer my questions out loud. So I don't really know how this is going to go. I think I'm just going to ask the question and give you a second to think of the answer, and then I'll tell you what I hope that you said, since we can't really do a call and response right now. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so several things have happened, and my first question is, how is this girl and that man, what is their connection? So make an inference. Okay, so hopefully you said that they are father and daughter. Well, what is your evidence that this girl is his daughter? He called her sweetie, and that just seems like a fatherly thing. So if I rewind just a little tad, here we go. Did you see her reaction? He said, "Sweetie, veggie soup." How does she feel in that reaction? Make an inference. Well, hopefully you said that she seems a little annoyed. Well, what is your evidence for that? She sort of huffed and puffed and like shrugged her shoulders a little. That's the evidence. Okay? All right. So, this man has just helped the little boy who was caught stealing, and he paid for the medicine that he was stealing for his mom. And he just asked his daughter to get veggie soup. So I'm noticing all of these clues, and it's making me start to build an inference about this man. I'm going to ask you to make an inference about this man in just a moment. What inference can we make about this guy based on all of the evidence that we have seen about him? Hopefully, your answer is that you are assuming that he's some sort of very nice and giving and generous man. Our evidence: he helped save that boy when he was getting yelled at. He then purchased the medicine for this boy, which the medicine he was stealing that medicine for his mom. He went and got soup for the boy, packaged it all together in a bag, and gave it to him. That's our evidence for our inference. So, I'd like you to draw an inference about this character. This character just a second ago was standing with his arms or his hands cupped. Okay, what inferences can we draw? Maybe you're saying we can draw the inference that he is homeless or hungry or needy. What's the evidence of that? Well, he's begging. He looks a little disheveled. He's getting some free soup from that guy who's 30 years later. It's the same guy that we saw in the beginning who helped out that little boy. So it looks like this might be a beggar. Summary of medical expenses, 792,000 baht. So my question is, and I know the film gets a little quiet here because the music got really soft. I don't know if you can hear it. My question is, what is she thinking about? And aside from the fact she's sad about her dad being ill or whatever's wrong with him, what is she thinking about? Hopefully you've drawn the inference that she's stressed about the bill. Well, what's your evidence that that's what she's thinking about? The filmmaker has given us lots of evidence. See, a moment ago, the filmmaker zoomed into the bill, and then it shifted between the bill and her sad face. The bill and her sad face, and that's the evidence that that's what she's sad about. She's also shifting her eyes to look at something else. Take a look here. See, right here, she's looking at the soup ladle and the pots and pans. She's thinking of something in her head connected to paying the bill. So here we go. We're seeing a door. We can't see what the door is for, but there's a sign on it that says urgent, for sale. So putting all of this together, we can make an inference. A moment ago, she was stressed about the bill. She started looking at the pots and pans and the soup ladle. She met with the doctor and looks like she didn't get a good answer because she continued to cry. Now the next thing we see is a for sale sign. You can infer that the soup kitchen or the restaurant is for sale. That's a lot of evidence that points to it. summary of medical expenses. Total 0 baht. All expenses paid 30 years ago. With 3 packs of painkillers and a bag of veggie soup, best regards, Dr. Prajak. So, who paid the bill? Make an inference. Well, hopefully you are inferring that the doctor paid the bill. Who's the doctor? This little boy, 30 years ago, he grew up. Okay, so he grew up and he became a doctor. And he ended up treating the very family that had helped him and made the bill $0. The evidence, well, it's what's written in the letter. Another piece of evidence is that the filmmaker is having the girl have a flashback to this time 30 years ago. That's a piece of evidence. She's putting 2 and 2 together, so you, the viewer, should be putting 2 and 2 together. Okay, my next question is, what is the little boy thinking in this moment? You can draw a lot of inferences here. He's probably looking up in wonder at how nice somebody could be. He might even be thinking, how can I pay this person back? Or how could I change my life so that I can be just as giving? So in this scene, we're going to see some photographs inside of picture frames. And my question for you is, what does this imply about the doctor? We already have a lot of information about him, but what else are we getting shown here? So we see these pictures. Here's our evidence. You draw the inference. We see these pictures of him helping people, which doctors do, but it seems like he's helping people outside of a hospital scene. Interesting. Given all that we know about this doctor, that he tried to help his mom way back when, that he helped the owner of that restaurant, that girl's father, that he's helping these people in these pictures, what inference can we draw? Hopefully your answer was that he has been someone who has spent his life helping others. What does the filmmaker want you to know? What's the theme of this that they want you to infer? Think about that. A minute ago, we saw a message on the screen that said giving is the best communication. Perhaps, based on all of this evidence, we should draw the inference that the idea of paying it forward, when you give to someone, they will pay it forward, and maybe even it will come around to help you in the future. And that's the end. It ends with this brand name because this was actually a commercial, which is kind of interesting. I hope that doesn't cheapen it for you. So we made a lot of inferences together right there. So, and I know you guys didn't really truly get to respond because it's just a video, but as silly as you might have felt, I felt even sillier talking to my computer by myself and not getting any answers. So there you go. Just think of that. So the next step, now that you're done with the lesson, on Schoology, at the time of this recording, it's Wednesday, so you're still seeing this Wednesday stuff, but pretend like that stuff is gone. And go ahead and look here on Friday. It's posted under Friday, the inferencing practice, because that's when it's due. Oh, by the way, every time you log into Schoology and you're in language arts class, instead of being on your home page in Schoology, I would like you to go into our language arts course so that it filters out everything else, science, math, health, and everything, so that you only see language arts. It makes it a lot easier with the stuff that's on the right-hand side. So you're obviously going to click on inferencing practice, okay? And you will notice that it says to make a copy of the doc linked below. This is your doc title, which should be your last name, and then the doc title. It needs to be saved in Q1. Okay, that's a must. And then it says right here, your due date is Friday, so that's tomorrow. We will submit the assignment here on Schoology at the beginning of class, or you can do it yourself before you get to class. But here's the bottom line. If you do not finish this assignment during class today, on Thursday, it becomes homework. There will be no in-class time for this assignment on Friday. I think that you should add it to your Todoist app right now. You can pause the video if you want to add it to your Todoist app so that you remember to complete it on time. So we're going to click on the assignment and it's going to open. Just want you to know right now, there's 2 different versions of this assignment. And you won't get to pick. I've assigned it to you. So some of you, when you click on that link, it'll go to one doc. And some of you, when you click on the link, it'll go to the other doc. So here's one version that you might have been assigned. And it says directions, excuse me. Please use the following video texts to practice the skill of inferencing. Then please answer the questions. Be sure to answer completely with full explanations, complete sentences, and specific evidence. Proofread all of your writing before submitting this assignment. The objective or the learning target is what you're going to be graded on. Right here in yellow, there's a place for you to type in the due date. I want you to type it in. I've already told you the due date. It's listed on Schoology. You've put it on Todoist, but I want you to type it in. It is Friday, September 23rd. That's when it's due, okay? And I'm going to delete that because this is the doc that I need to be clean. So first, it has text 1. Please watch the following video. So you're going to obviously watch this video with your headphones, and then you're going to answer the questions. These are really short videos. They're just commercials. They're actually Super Bowl commercials from a few years ago. And if you know anything about Super Bowl commercials, they're usually like considered to be better, and they're usually funnier and that kind of thing. It asks questions that would require you to infer. And then, like, so number 1, why is the dog offering up the Doritos? What has the dog done? I asked you to do full explanations, complete sentences with specific evidence. So you're going to need to answer with, details. And then when you look at number 2, it says, pertaining to question 1, how do you know? Bottom line is I'm asking you, why is the dog doing this? And then number 2, what's your evidence? How did you know that that was why the dog was doing it? Okay, so there's 4 questions for that video. And then it's the same thing. There's a second video, and then there's a third video. Here's what's unique about this. After you get done with these, it's self-reflection time. Please evaluate your level of mastery for the following skills. Be honest with yourself, because assessing yourself is part of learning and growing. Level 3 means you've mastered it. That means you've gotten it. Level 4 means you feel that you've gone way above and beyond. Level 2, you understand it, but you're still working to achieve mastery. Level 1, you're struggling to do this independently, and you maybe need some help from a teacher. Level 0 means you haven't demonstrated this skill whatsoever. So, you're going to answer each of these. I am able to engage in rereading strategies or rewatching strategies in order to view the text and the clues more closely. Rate your level of mastery. The next one, I'm able to use clues from the text to make inferences. Rate your level of mastery. I'm able to write clear explanations to defend my claims by citing evidence. Okay, and then I'm able to proofread my writing before submitting an assignment. Okay, so that's the one version of the assignment. The other version of the assignment that you might have been assigned is this one. In this one it says, I'm reading the directions out loud to really make sure you get it. Please use the video short linked below to practice the skill of inferencing. Then develop questions throughout the video that will require others to practice their inferencing abilities. In other words, you are going to write questions that would make others have to use their inferencing skills. Record where the inferencing moment occurs within the video short. So if you're going to pause it at 17 seconds, write that down because we need to know that. Be sure to follow up most of your questions with, how do you know? What evidence proves this? Herein lies the real skill of inferencing, being able to explain how the inference was made. You're developing questions that would make a partner in the future have to infer. Well, we want you to jot down the answers that you're expecting to hear. You can develop as many questions as you would like, but you need to do at least 7. Be ready to sit with a partner tomorrow or the next day to ask the questions that you've developed. As your partner watches the video, you'll ask him or her to pause at your pre-planned moments in order to discuss the inferencing questions you have prepared. So let's see whether they can make the inferences you want them to make. Same thing as I said on the other document, your due date needs to be typed in right here. I've already told you the due date and you've already hopefully put it into Todoist, but you need to write it so that I know that you know. It's Friday, September 23rd. Here's the video short. Basically, a video short just means it's kind of like a short animated film. You click on it and watch it, okay? It's called Defective Detective. Okay, and then it says note, an example has been completed for you. Yes, you should use this example when you meet with your partner the next day. But basically, this is a large table, okay? In this column, you write down where to pause, like at 27 seconds. All right? Then you're going to record a question that would require inferencing. So you can't say what color is his shirt when it's clearly a purple shirt. That doesn't require anybody to infer, you know? So in this, I made up one that's an example one that really does apply to this video. Who is the man being shown in the video? My expected answer, he's a detective who's working on a case about a criminal that hasn't been found. My follow-up question, how did you know? What is your evidence? So how do I know that he's a detective? Here's my expected answer. I know that he's a detective because there's a name placard on his desk that says Detective Juliet. Plus, at 019, the newspaper shows a picture of him with the headline, Our Hero, which detectives often are. Additionally, all around the office are newspaper clippings showing his detective work as he strives to find this criminal who is at large. Okay? You're going to notice in this column, I just copied, how did you know? What is your evidence? Because that'll be the question that you'll ask for all of those. It does say you can change this if you need to, like if this doesn't fit, you can change that. If you run out of space and you need more, it says to expand this table, hit the tab key. So if I hit the tab key, then it made more. Okay, I'm going to undo that. Last but not least is the self-reflection time. Please take time to answer each of these 4 questions with a number, like level 4 or level 3. When you guys are done with these 2 things, you will submit them on Schoology. All right, thank you so much for your hard work today and have a wonderful class period.